Whether it's the stock market or negotiating for an item at an open air market, bargaining is an essential skill. In this video, I'm going to show you how to negotiate and bargain when you travel. Hey, this is Maoli Vodi with Financially Present, your one-stop shop for financial and investment education. And in this video, I'm going to go over all styles of bargaining and negotiating. Some people would even call it haggling. In my recent trip to Ghana with my family, we had the opportunity to appreciate the culture, the food, the clothing, and so many other aspects of Ghanaian culture. And one thing you'll find is that negotiating or haggling is a big part of it as well. And not just only in Ghana, you're gonna find this in many, many other countries. So you'll be able to use these tips to help you when you travel. One thing you'll note that in areas where tourist traffic is especially heavy, the prices of these items, and it could be artwork, it could be sculptures, it could be paintings, it could be clothing items. These could be double or triple or even more times the actual value of the item. So you just have to be a little bit mindful when you try to negotiate these things, and these tips are going to help you with exactly that. So first, one of my tips would be to go in a group. Think of it like this. Your negotiating power by yourself, maybe one way, but if you had a couple people around you that could also chime in and help on your side and negotiate your point, that would help you. And on the flip side too, if you think of the vendor's position, they don't want to have to do this time and time again. If they can make a sale, maybe even for a group versus just on an individual basis, it saves them time and it helps you. So being able to negotiate in a group is to your advantage. You'll find that they have their time saved and you can get a better deal. So if you can go in a group, it doesn't have to be large, but maybe you plus one or two other people can make a big difference on the price you get on that specific item you want to negotiate for. And I'll give you a couple examples. Another tip you can use is to speak the language. No, you don't have to be fluent, but at least being able to say please and thank you, or how much is this, or please can you come down on the price. Learning those specific phrases in that language, the local language, can go a long way because it can take the edge off, and it can create a lighthearted moment between you and the vendor, right? Because again, these prices could be exorbitantly high because you're a tourist, right? So also having someone with you, perhaps like your driver or another local that's with you, that doesn't work in that area, but is familiar with the prices of these items, that can help with your leveraging power, and they will speak the language. So between you and them, you can understand a little bit. And at least if it shows that you know some of the language, you more than likely won't be completely taken advantage of as far as the price is concerned. So speaking a little bit goes a long way. Another tip is to lump together a few items when you're negotiating. And why do I say this? Well, a lot of times they may start with, if you start with one thing, the price is going to be exorbitantly high, okay? And I've seen it where they see that you might be trying on stuff or looking at different things, and they'll bring other things that you might be interested in. And that's perfectly fine, but what you want to do is lump all that together in order to bring the price down. And because you have a group of people with you, you can help, they can leverage the fact that, hey, now this is somewhat of a larger order. If you aren't interested, they need to make sure that they're coming down on the price to help you out and make this sale official, okay? Because until you shake hands or agree verbally, there's no real agreement or there's no transaction. You're just trying items on or you're looking at them, specifically window shopping. But if you lump some items together, then they may be willing to come down on the price on one item or multiple items versus just you doing everything individually. And you'll notice that there aren't going to be prices listed for everything, and that's a telltale sign that you have to negotiate, and you have to negotiate well. And doing things together will help make that happen. I know for me, I went with my wife and two kids, and We all had different items we had in mind. The kids wanted certain things, my wife wanted certain things. If you group all of this together, then now you could come down on the price for these items. And you have to be willing to just say, hey, well, if we can't get it for this price, we just have to look elsewhere. And that's where you can really strengthen your negotiating power, right? But we were able to get shirts for me and my son, skirts for my daughter and my wife, and then other little souvenir type things. But we lumped it into one price versus everything being individually bargained for, and it's much quicker to do it this way. Another tip is to cut the price at least in half and then work your way to a middle ground. And this worked very well actually for the jersey I'm wearing. This is a Black Stars jersey for the Ghana soccer team or football team. And originally when they see you coming up out of your car, they approach you and they can tell pretty quickly, hey, you might not be from around there or you're American. And ultimately, they're gonna start with a price that's gonna work for them, and you have to jump down to a price that works for you. And they originally wanted about 500 cities for this jersey. And I had a frame of reference knowing that, hey, the day before we were able to get my son a smaller size jersey, obviously, for a significantly lower price. So I immediately said, hey, I can't do that price. And we were in a group. I was able to, I would say we got about 5 or 6 different jerseys, but we were able to pay a specific price per jersey. It was about 250 cities per jersey. Whereas the negotiating price we started with was 500 per jersey. And it just goes to show you that if you are negotiating in a group, they're more than willing to kind of come down with the price, as long as it's not this big show and song and dance where like you're getting loud or anything like that. Because at the end of the day, they have a business and you want an item. So you want to make sure you're finding that middle ground. One of my biggest tips would be to walk away. So you do have to use this tip very carefully, all right? It has to be strategic. If you are really excited and you overtly show that you really, really want an item, then you don't have any leverage or any bargaining power there because now you've shown your whole hand. But if you can play a little bit coy or hard to get, then you have somewhat of leverage when it comes to these type of situations. Because at the end of the day, they have to get a price that's worth either their labor or the item that they have. And you have to get something that you agree with. If both parties aren't happy, then it's not worth it, all right? You don't want to undercut them so much that they're offended, right? And then you also don't want to be taken advantage of. And if you see an item and you know that you can probably see other versions of it or there are other shops with the same thing, then you have to be willing to walk away. And if your price that you've given them has any merit, then they more than likely will say, hey, just take it for your price, or come on back, let's work it out some more, right? Because again, they don't want to waste their time, and they know that if they don't make that sale, you probably buy from someone else. So you have to be willing to walk away at certain points in order to either just cut off the deal or to seal the deal and make sure that you actually get that item. And trust me, this works very well. Because again, when it came to this jersey, there was a point where I said, hey, well, I already know that I can get it for much cheaper than 500 cities. So I began to walk away. Some of us were a little unsure and they were saying, hey, well, can we try to negotiate? And the vendor is like, hey, come on, please. And I maintained my position of walking away. And he knew that this was going to be a group order. So if he can get multiple executed at once, then it's worth his time to just go ahead and do that versus having to do this over and over again with each and every tourist. So we ultimately got them for a good enough price. And lo and behold, it was still relatively a fair price. So remember, don't take it personal. The person that's selling you an item, they have responsibilities, they have a family to feed, they have a business that they're running, and they need to make a profit, right? And you also don't want to be taken advantage of too. So you have to make sure that you find some type of middle ground, and you don't want to waste anyone's time or your own. So if you can't find that middle ground, you have to be able to walk away or just move on to something else. Negotiating and bargaining is essential, okay? And you're gonna see it in many different places, not just Ghana. You see it in countries all over the world, but then you also see it even in the stock market. There's some traces of that where there's negotiation done and it's more computerized than anything else, but it is, you'll see the aggregation of multiple orders coming from different areas in order for an execution, a price execution to take place. It's haggling and bargaining, it's haggling and bargaining in its own way. It's just really, really fast, okay? And it's better for it to happen in a group in order for the time and the price to be optimal. If you're doing it one by one, then everything's gonna be slow. So ultimately, when you aggregate these things, it makes it a little bit better for both parties. Negotiating and haggling, it may seem a little uncomfortable at first, but over time, you'll get better at it. It's gonna get quicker and move more efficiently. So, if you like this video, I want you to hit that like button, subscribe if you're new to the channel, and turn on notifications so that you don't miss out on future content. And until next time, stay present.